So first of all, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining into this conversation. So continuing our last session where we discussed about the RBI's two-factor authentication. In this session, we'll go in deeper into what RBI authentication deals with in the backend technology. What are the challenges that the companies might face when they are trying to implement it, and what are different technology standards, which we call it the golden standard of authentication, a digital signature, digital trust that can be built, especially in the payments domain. And RBI is clearly not too happy with the OTP method where there is a chance of hack, there is a chance of fraud and everything else. So then what are the other standards that we can follow to make the payments more global, secured, and especially in the terms of currently what we are going through the global complexity, we also have to ensure that whatever kind of next standard we are adopting into the digital payments, it remains secured and it also remains gradually be used and utilized, or maybe as a template can be used by other countries as well. So I will just share a brief presentation about. So this training is brought to you by Global FinTech Academy and by Mr. Tarun Mohan, who is the founder of Pay Services, Security Services. So just allow me one moment and let's get started. Okay, so just to give you an overview of what Global FinTech Academy is, we started off with the thought that there's a skill gap into the fintech domain, especially in India and also across the globe. And we also found that there are very few platforms where someone can do a cross-border kind of a learning or understanding of fintech that one country is learning from others. And we needed a truly a global academy where the technology and also the business side can be explored and can be discussed. So with that thought, we started this Global FinTech Academy, and this is by the practitioner. I have worked extensively into the digital payments domain and fintech industry in India and outside India as well. So with that thought, we started and we realized that we need to have a structured academy to talk about fintech, different parts of the fintech, which has now become complex. The payment is getting into lending, lending is getting into insurance, to the wealth tech and everything else. And then definitely the regulators are trying to catch up, trying to create guardrails, because now it has ushered very fastly or very quickly into different domains and is kind of disrupting the way we are using the financial services. So our vision is that we want to, while we are a global organization and we want to kind of empower global professionals across all management levels, be it frontline, middle management, uh, or say top management. We work in India, Africa, and we have worked tied up with Middle East as well, some of the countries where we are training them on different aspects of fintech, be it blockchain, payments, lending, insurance, and how the new products can be developed and how new regulations can evolve uh, related to that. So these are five basic services that we provide. One is a training content development for institution. For example, any bank or any financial institution wants to develop a training content for their own employees into their own learning management systems. That's what we do. We do a batch training for new joiners where a bank or a fintech company says that, okay, let's say five people have joined in the new batch. Can you give them a 1 or 2 day of workshop to talk about what is happening in the fintech, what are the things that they should be aware of, and what are the things they should not do from the compliance aspects. Then for the middle management on how to develop different products related to by maybe combining different sectors of fintech like payments plus lending, lending plus insurance and everything else. So the product management side is also we do through our workshop, which is more like a workshop, consultative workshop rather than the training. Then for top management, we train them on what is happening next into the fintech world, what they should be aware about, and where they should drive their organization towards. Then we also have our own self-paced online courses on Udemy, where people from 186 countries are pursuing our courses on Udemy, and the courses ranges from payments, lending, blockchain to digital public infrastructure, AI in BFSI, and everything else. So we are working to fulfill that mandate as well. So again, this is a detail of what we do in the training content for institutions. So we also include the real world case studies. So as a follow-up of this session, Mr. Tarun has also agreed to talk about one of the use cases that he has implemented into this payment industry and how they are using it what are the impact and everything else. So that is also one of our effort to talk about the real world case studies beyond just the theoretical aspects. Then batch training for new joiners could be like a payments, could be blockchain or something on those lines. And these are all delivered by industry expert for someone who has already done it, and not by purely by a academician or by someone who just have a secondary view of it. So we always ensure that it's a very hands-on, where it is able to solve at least one of the problems that people face on the floors whenever they are developing, or wherever they need a guidance on compliance or the product aspect of it. Middle management is more about how do we help them to develop or think about new product into the changing landscape. For example, the 2FA, what are the things that probably the middle management has to think about in terms of changing uh, the integration, changing or upskilling their employees or their front lines or their risk teams. So that is also that we consider and we train people on under Global FinTech Academy. And the top management, we help them to understand that what are the skill gaps which is required to ensure that their organization grow faster. They can build something new, and that's what we also do. We are very soon coming up with a skill gap report as well, that what are the skill gaps in the global fintech market and also in the Indian market, so that then people can start preparing for those kind of skills to help our country to go forward in terms of digital skills. And then that's our approach for the global audience as well. And again, it's a self-paced online courses on Udemy as well, where people are, let's say, do not have sufficient time to come online and do a in-person or online courses. They can go on Udemy and they can do it at their own pace as well. The only challenge that there you cannot ask question and answer, so it's a more like a structured and very recorded courses that has been created there. And our approach in any of these training assignments is that we first engage with the stakeholders. What do they want? What are the challenges that they are facing? That's when then we help them to learn on the basis of what are the gaps. So it's not a standard training content that we just have created and we deliver it to everyone. So we also customize that on the basis of the need of that organization. And these are certain numbers. We have gone, as I told you, that we are across the globe, and now we are trying to go deeper into the in-person and online training as well. We have our on-demand courses kind of expanding, and we have got a very good feedback in terms of average rating as well. So this is our global reach snapshot. We are mostly in India, and then US and Nigeria, Egypt, and then there are other parts of the world where people are pursuing our courses. And these are some of our efforts, some of our learners that they have given us a good ratings around what through our for our efforts. And these are certain courses that you will find on our LMS, which is, and we also have our mobile app onto the Play Store. You can go and download Global FinTech Academy, and then you can have these courses as well. And a Global FinTech Academy is a brand of CDC Partners LLP, which is into fintech consulting and training. And these are our coordinates in whenever you want to get in touch with us. You can visit our website and then you can find about us more. So thank you so much. And now over to you, Tarun sir, where you can start
Ah,
sharing your presentation.
thanks, Piyush, and good afternoon, everybody. Let me share my screen. Let me just go through the RBI document where they said in the basic outlook, basic function, what they want is two factors minimum for authentication, and one of the factors be dynamic. Okay. Now, here it is that at least one factor authentication should be dynamic or dynamic or proven. Now, uh, proof of possession is unique to the transaction. Now, what people have done is they've taken the biometric authentication on the phone as a second factor of authentication. So I'm not very sure whether that qualifies because biometric authentication is a static authentication, it's not dynamic authentication. So either, RBI is also saying, okay, fine, you have a token inside the transaction being created as a unique factor, and the biometric as a second factor of authentication. The only difference in the biometric and an OTP is the hijacking capability. Otherwise, it's the same. You can still spoof a but you can still spoof a biometric, the fingerprint. You can create a silicon imprint of your finger and use that for your biometric. So I'm still not very clear about the RBI. What does it want to do? What's it saying to this biometric being used as the second factor of authentication? But anyway, let's move ahead. So this was what the basic guideline was: two factors, one factor be dynamic, be robust, and then open access. Now, authentication or tokenization be accessible to all the applications oblique token requesters. RBI also uses the thing called the COFT for an online m-commerce card transaction. Now, COFT token is a token, all right, but I'll tell you it's a token created by the card number and the CVV only. It's not a PAN token, which is the real EMV token being used over there. Okay. Uh, People are working that you have Visa and MasterCard do offer you a solution where you can have a tokenized card on a card vault. But that card vault secure token issuance is still not EMV certified. It's not doesn't comply with the EMV tokenization specifications or standards. So I don't know what people are wanting to implement or going up with implementation on this tokenization of cards or the real ID of a customer. We'll see how it evolves, but people are working on alternates as the lowest, as we call it in mathematics, LCM, lowest cost method, then go on to a high cost method. So the low cost methods are being implemented right away. There's no rocket science in implementing a low cost method. Ultimately, when you go on to RBI's gold standards, which is what is required really for achieving a cyber secure, protected environment in the future, I think the gold standards will have to be adopted and brought in to help make sure that we are really cyber secure. I'll give you a small example. There's an article about a week ago that a hacker had made a small app on the phone using AI, where the malware can read your pixels on the screen as an image or as a movie. He can capture your pixels on the screen and transmit them to his own server. What does it do? Basically, it then sees your PIN, your numbers 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 0, sees where you are tapping, captures your pixels, and replicates the whole thing at his server. So as AI keeps coming in the picture and AI keeps expanding, the hacking capability of individuals is getting simpler and simpler. Um, there are always going to be one ahead of us or one ahead of the regulator, but then catching up with the hackers is also equally important. This is what my opinion is. Um, I'll come to a point later on where the RBI Harbinger hackathon was announced yesterday, and there's some points over there which, in my opinion, if you see this guideline and the Harbinger outline, is converging to a point where RBI is moving towards a secure digital signature or a token in the handset, which is going to be a qualification factor for your ID, for your device mapping, and for your transaction. This is what my gut feeling or my thinking is going to is working around, because everything is moving towards tokenization, digital signatures. And I don't know how far it's going to take some time. So this is where I come, and this is, open access and property also is discussed in the Harbinger ask of last evening. I'll come to it. I'll share the document and discuss it with you also. So risk-based approach, fine, Piyush and everybody else. This is basically built at the server end. It's not built at the mobile device, because the risk analysis is done by the server. Could be a fraud risk, could be an AML risk, could be a mule account risk, could be a flag by the DOT in terms of a cybercrime blocked account, The risks are all at the servers. Is not going to be implemented at the device level. See now, location, user behavior patterns, device attributes, transaction profile. These basically will come at the server end. Okay. User responsibility, this is simple. A factor which is coming up here was cross-border transactions. Uh, this is where RBI and the whole industry needs to look a little more, because I did a transaction on Stripe the day before yesterday in the in the US. All I did was card number, CVV expiry. It went through. No OTP. And that's Stripe, the largest of payment gateways globally. So now if Stripe could be using a platform which is just the lowest cost, the lowest level of implementation on security. I really don't know how would RBI be able to enforce cross-border transactions using the two-factor authentication. So in my opinion, working on a cross-border transaction with two-factor authentication is basically converting from card not present to card present. Because a card present transaction is a full EMV transaction. And that qualifies for a lower MDR. It qualifies for no chargebacks because you can't spoof it. Because if you have your card with you for a transaction, and I'm using, if I have, say, my Visa card, and I'm using it for my online m-commerce, either by a tap and pay or by a tokenized card in the handset with an in-app payment, there is 100% security and safety and compliance on that for EMD, and that is not going to be that will comply completely with the gold standard over here. Advantage there also will be that he's put the onus on the bin number mapping with overseas networks and acquirers. You don't need to do that, because if you go to a POS transaction, a POS switch talks on a different rail to the issuer. It does not talk on a online card payment rail, a different rail. That rail is much more secure. It does a full PAN verification, full PAN validation. So in my opinion, to handle cross-border transactions and make it seamless for everybody, whether it is a transaction in the US, Europe, Africa, Southeast Asia, Japan, Korea, China, moving from a card not present to a card present is the best, highly secure, and the gold standard for implementation. We had some discussions last time, also in the last session, about an issuer and an acquirer also being there and discussing it in the debate. There were questions coming up that how do you ensure a digital card on the phone? Visa and MasterCard already have that application available, like that SDK available. I think RuPay is building one, but if you have all three available, Amex is still not doing it out. If you have those three SDKs available in a handset vault, and all the issuer banks, adopting that standard for a digital card, that could be the best and the gold standard for implementation on a cross-border transaction. It also helps in domestic and cross-border. Advantage there also, there's an RBI guideline that the card scheme or the card type choice is on the customer. Now, the customer to say change from a Visa card to a MasterCard issued card, it means making a request, the issuer bank changing the card, the cost. A cost of handling request, card preparation, issuance, monitoring, tracking. Now, if you go to a digital card on the phone, what's your cost of a change? Maybe a rupee or 2 rupees, basically a new card being mapped onto your issuer, by the issuer, onto your phone. So there will be some work at the card host. There may be some work at the card token being replaced, but it's a one-time token. It's a one-time card issuance. It's going to be much cheaper than the cost of a physical card replacement, which is about 125 rupees today in terms of card, plastic, welcome kit, courier cost, internal administration cost. It's about 125 rupees or so. It's cheaper than that. Much cheaper. So in my opinion, I think going the gold standard for card not present, where I issue a digital card or I go in for card present, will be a long-term solution, future-proof, cyber secure and protected, and also more economical for the issuers. My opinion. We can debate on that a little later, post the call.
Yeah.
If you go to a card transaction, all the OTPs are time based.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So that's taken care of. The only place where I have encountered OTP, the open OTPs are logging into one of those, delivery apps, or if you want to order something on those food delivery apps, the OTP remains for half an hour, sometimes even 1 hour. Because when you go to a telco, in the telco, when you have an SMS delivery, there are two kinds of connections you get. A is a priority connection, which is basically an OTP connection. You pay slightly more for that. Okay. If you know your SMS gateways, in the SMS gateway, you can set the priority on SMS delivery. So we have A is a P2P SMS and B is a P2M SMS. Okay.
Hmm.
P2P SMS is where I send an SMS to you, that always goes on priority. P2M SMS is when you have bulk messaging coming out, like alerts coming about. There's no time-based, urgency in that SMS delivery. So they go on to a lower priority scale, which is a little cheaper SMS than priority SMS. So banks on the OTP are always on priority SMS.
Hmm.
Banks on alerts are on non-priority. If you have third parties giving out an OTP for login, they don't want to spend the money for a priority SMS. They use the lower priced SMS, which is the scheduled SMS. Okay. So you'll find always banking OTPs are priority, but still there is a success rate delivery. There is a small gap in the success rate for delivery, which could be anything between 3 to 4 to 5%. It's getting better and better. Some networks like Airtel are about 98 and 99% compliance on that. BSNL is slightly lower. The It all depends on network quality and the network traffic capacity for handling. So I hope I will answer your question is that you do have a certain failure rate.
Yeah.
Sometimes if I hand like my handset, sometimes I don't get an OTP. I have to restart my handset, then the OTP is coming. So if I ask for a transaction, no OTP comes in, I say, let me restart my handset as a first try before blaming somebody else. So it could be a network issue, could be a device issue, could be a priority issue set by the issuer bank.
Right. Yeah.
You got the reason why you have time delays and everything happening.
Yes, I understood that. To which I was just exploring, like we have these apps called Microsoft Authenticator, Google Authenticator, and there are many third-party apps. Like, so what any portal can do is like they just need to implement it. By usually we just enter a pairing key or a QR code. Once we enter the QR code, we can see a 6-digit OTP right inside that app uh,
Hmm.
without any depend, and it works offline as well. Say suppose I'm logging into my internet banking. Uh, in fact, even Zerodha has implemented this kind of an OTP system. So say for example, I'm logging in with my credentials. I entered my username
Hmm.
and password. Second factor usually is an OTP, which comes on my mobile or email. Instead of that, I'll just open my Authenticator app. I'll just copy that 6-digit code and I'll just paste it over there. So by this, I've completely eliminated this SMS.
OTP dynamic. So
Yeah,
now I'll tell you on the authenticator why
yeah,
there is, in fact, in the RBI notification, I was reading some notification. It says over there I could use a Microsoft or a Google authenticator, which is FIDO compliant.
yeah,
It is FIDO compliant. Okay. Now, what's missing over there is it that only gives you a device ID and the user ID mapped to the device.
right.
Okay. Suppose my device is used by you. You can still use my authenticator as long as you have my login credentials for the phone. If I don't have my biometrics set, if I don't have my PIN set for login, or you've hacked my login PIN on my device, it
Hmm.
will still work for you, the authenticator, because that is linked up to your device ID. It's not linked up to my personal ID,
Yeah,
which could be different from a bank ID.
Mm.
So this is one point where NPCI has been debating. Okay, I've been debating and discussing with NPCI also, is that for a banking grade or a banking application, the Google Authenticator, the Microsoft Authenticator is not the right tool. They want to use a different thing.
Okay. Yeah, usually banks have these have their own device binding procedure.
Yes, on the
Yeah.
own device binding logic. Am I
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, in fact, in the RBI document, it says over there in the FIDO standard, it says, if I'll come to that document over here, it says over here, uh, can you see my thing?
Yeah, it's visible.
Here, yeah, it says, ना
Yeah.
इसमें है कि ये लिखा हुआ है ना इसमें सॉफ्टवेयर टोकन्स
Okay.
ऑथेंटिकेट लिखा हुआ है दिस इज गिवन बाय आरबीआई
Okay.
but it does not still handle my secure token
Yeah.
transaction token.
Right.
So if I log in once, I do my device authentication, I can do 10 transactions.
Mm.
Am I right?
Yes. Right.
So it does not handle your device, it doesn't handle your token, dynamic token per transaction.
Mm.
It's only login token.
Yeah. Right. Like if within that time I perform multiple transactions within that 30 seconds, then I
Yeah,
can
so
use the same
चलेगा
token.
चलेगा
Uh, right. तो वो risk होगा.
ठीक है ना.
Understood.
So anyway, so basically there are debates on I would this whole Piyush, we can share this with everybody. We shared it last time, we can do it again this time, this whole document.
Yeah, sure, sure, we'll share that. So I think
Share with everybody, it's an open
Last
document.
time we received it, yeah.
Yeah, so you can do it again for the new people coming in now. You can do it out. Now, DigiLocker, okay, let's come back to.
let's start from the beginning, sir. I think that would be.
Let's start from the beginning only.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Uh,
I think this is something that we shared last time, right, sir? Yeah.
So
Again,
यहाँ पे मैं करता हूँ इसको शुरू.
Yes, yes.
Let me do a full screen. So this is the operational guidelines, which is two-factor, one dynamic and one unique to a transaction. Card not present basically is online, your card transaction. Knows, has, and is. Now in the is bit, he's taken the fingerprint or the facial scan or an iris scan. But none of these are dynamic, they're all static. So this is my, I don't know whether RBI is going to be okay with a fingerprint being taken as a dynamic token, but it does not satisfy the whole thing about dynamic token, a static token, a static authenticating factor. So anyway, it'll be debatable. RBI may come up with some clarifications and do it up. But this is on the basic guidelines. Risk base is on the server end. This can't be on the device. And the background is also what I've told you, hijack. You all know the background. Why is this coming over there? Administrative is issuer liability. That's the card issuer or anybody. Cross-border transaction is, which is what I was debating on previously a little earlier, a little while ago, was how do we implement our OTP with every acquirer network in the world? It's going to be an impossible task. Best done by the networks Visa, Masters, Amex, Rupee, Discovers, JCBs, Union Pays. But again, it is not, see, they can only guide, they can't force implementation on networks outside. So this is the point where I still think the optimal route for the gold standard is to move from card not present to card present, in my opinion. Um, Regulatory approach, this will be done by RBI and NPCI both put together because RBI does a lot of development work with IDRBT, with other people, but NPCI also helps RBI in a lot of development work. So this I would leave to them both to do it out. Timelines, this is all implemented, they're available. This is part of the document released by RBI. Now I just come here. Behavioral biometrics, AI and ML. This would be basically at the server end. Keystroke dynamics. I don't know how much of this would be able to implement. Key typing, it has to be done as a learning as a part of the device. How do I type my keys? Do I press them hard, soft, gentle? This is to be done by the application developer into the device. Needs a lot of homework, a lot of homework. Mouse movements only on a PC. Again, this is a lot of homework to be done, and it's not going to be as easy and straightforward. It means development, testing, validation, certification, again retesting, revalidation. Um, keystroke and the mouse movements also depend on my movement, on my speed of transaction. Am I in a hurry to complete transaction, or I have enough of time? A lot of factors which are dynamic to this. So I would rather keep this as a point which needs a lot of homework, a lot of learning, and a lot of AI into it. So I'd keep this, I would park it aside for the moment. Software tokens were what just discussed about Authenticator, Microsoft or Google. But then there's a point over there is once I authenticate, I can do 10 transactions. It's not dynamic per transaction. It's only dynamic for a login and a user ID authentication. A DigiLocker, a little complicated because what my knowledge is that about 80 or 90 million users on DigiLocker, whereas we have 550 million on online card payments or UPI. How do you handle that? So this could be a question mark, plus also remains a lot of work to be done at the back end and a lot of multiple hops. If any of you do transactions in Europe, how it works is on an online card transaction is you go request for a card, you request for a purchase on m-commerce. Then you have to go to your bank app and authorize it out. You could do, blanket authorizations, or you could do a per transaction authorization, but then it's still two apps to be opened up. Your m-commerce app and then your bank app. A similar thing over here, which has to be done is, again, you will work on your m-commerce app and then go to your DigiLocker. Two apps. DigiLocker again is OTP based login. So multiple things. I would still put this as a little phase 3 or phase 4 for implementation. It's not going to be done immediately. FIDO is what is more exciting and more interesting to put together. It is the gold standard. And it also uses, if you see over here, registration, the user's device generates a pair of cryptographic keys. Now, if you have used a digital signature, a USB drive with a digital signature, that is FIDO and more, because the CCA, which is a part of MIT, issues your digital signature. You power it on, it goes online, checks it out, right person, authenticates and gives you a session ID. In that session ID, basically, it has done the authentication of you, your credentials, like a KYC, eKYC, and then you can do what you want. Okay. In terms of handling on a mobile, there are basically challenges because of a secure element. The IT Act of India does not allow digital signature to be kept on anything but a secure element. So I don't know whether will this be available for all handset, to implement or all partners to implement till or unless you have a secure element in the phone. Now, what is a secure element? It's a piece of hardware which has a secure key for encryption and decryption, and also lets you store data into it. I can read, write, and edit data into a secure element. You can Google search it out. There are globally certified partners like NXP, Infineon, STMicro, GND, NXP, who make secure elements in bulk, in volumes, in millions a year. They are certified for security, data hosting. I think if the RBI or the banks start moving towards a physical secure element based solution or a hardware based solution on the phones, this could be the optimum and the real gold standard for implementation, where you can have your digital signature by the PKI and issued by the PKI infrastructure handled by the government of India, and given to you based on your Aadhaar validation or a KYC or a one-time issuance. Advantage of this PKI infrastructure is common across all authentication platforms in India, whether you go into income tax, whether you go into your DGFT, whether you go into your uh, GST, whether you go into any other system, your passport, everything is handled by a digital signature. And that could be a part of the implementation gold standard. I'll come to it as a part of the RBI ask also. There is a similar ask in that same hackathon. Maybe both merging together, we can discuss and debate on that. What is the optimal route out? M-commerce card not present, knows, has, and is. Now, in all these things, I don't think anything is dynamic. It's all static. So I'm still not sure whether what it means by dynamic in this, because knows an ATM pin or a login pin is a static pin. Has is a physical card or a digital card, a static card. Fingerprint is not dynamic, it's static. And then I also say, what about non-smartphones? How do I handle non-smartphones? Like if you see the Geo smart feature phone, browser enabled, I can do a card transaction on that. There's no biometric authentication on that available. So how do I do it out? So this is a point which will come in, and then it also lists out a dynamic factor. Now in a card present, if you handle POS transactions at a merchant point, as a part of your EMV, each unique payment transaction has a secure token generated by the EMV kernel inside the device, inside the terminal. Now that is the highest degree of security and encryption. Now that if it is implemented for online card not present to card present, that will be the ultimate, again, the gold standard over there, in my opinion. Okay, convert existing CNP to CP, safest, and that is the gold. I also will once again repeat that the CFT token is not a EMV certified token. It's a token only using your card number and CVV. Whereas an EMV token is a full PAN token, all 56 parameters in your PAN. That token is an EMV token. Okay, so let me give you a brief of the device ecosystem. In India, it's 5% iOS and 90% Android. Android basically comes in 3 frameworks implementation. A is Alphabet certified, which is OnePlus. B is Oppo's, Vivo's, Samsung, Motorola's. They take the base Android OS from Alphabet, and then they put their own wrappers over it, and they do self-certification. The third, the most critical part of it is low-cost Chinese handsets. Now, Android requires at least 8 GB and 64 GB. When you go in for cheaper handsets with 4 GB or 6 GB and 32 GB of RAM, you compromise on the OS. As these local Chinese companies, they do an Android implementation, which God only knows what they do inside. And that is almost like 50% of the market in India. So that is where you have the major security concern for malware, for hacking, and for frauds on transactions. A second point also to note is multiple versions of OS, say Android 12, 13, 14, and each OEM device OEM implements it in its own way. So if you see across Android, different devices implement their OS in a different way. So there's no standardized way of security implementation in any 2 devices. Okay. How does your payment stack handle multiple OEM implementations, multiple OS variants, in particular the Chinese handsets? Okay. So if you have a malware attacking it, 95% it is easier for it to go into a local Chinese handset and then do what you want. In fact, in Chinese handsets, you can even go to a roadside shop over in your market and get the whole OS side loaded. Are you aware of this? Are you aware of this? No. So the local shop in your market can take an existing OS stack write his own applications into that stack and do a side load. So if I want to say hack into UPI or want to hack into an existing application, which is a certified application, I can very easily pick up a Chinese handset. It's called the bootloader in the device, which is compromised. So using a compromised bootloader, the local Chinese device, I can access the whole OS. And that's what I can hack. And with the power of AI coming in, it's going to get simpler and simpler. So that is the main point where you need to put protection and safety into place. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble tomorrow. So I'll tell you, this is how an Android device works. You have the basic is a Linux kernel of all Android. Then you have your libraries, and then you have your applications. Now, the sniffing, if you have these, we call them all codecs. The browser has a codec application, and all your codecs. So the runtime here where I've missed the, okay. Now I'll tell you also on the device, I think this diagram doesn't have it. You have codecs, like your Bluetooth is a codec, your Wi-Fi is a codec. All the codecs talk to your Android runtime engine. Okay. And these are on open protocols. So if I can go into my Linux kernel, I can then talk to my different code. Okay, here it is. See, the Wi-Fi drivers are here, the audio drivers are here, camera drivers are here. So they all talk to the base Linux kernel using a simple codec. And you can have a sniffer at that codec level, reading the data going from your different modules. Could be a Bluetooth module, could be a camera module, could be a biometric sensor, could be your Wi-Fi sensor. They all go there. So that is where you have a base malware attack. This is the most scary part of Linux. And as AI comes in, this hacking is going to get easier and easier, which is a point to note. I don't know how many of you have worked on a handset and seen this architecture of a handset, but this is what it looks like. Okay. You're happy to take this out. You can go online, read, and see where you will hack. Let me come on to this is the debate I put out last time also. I shared this with everybody in the part of the main screen. So where RBI is coming from is C2C, e-commerce, PC-based payments, POS and P2P payments, m-commerce payments, and other OTP validations. So these are the 5 rails which RBI is wanting to cover in this circular. Computer to computer basically is when I log into. Have you ever done security when you go into your NSE and BSC and securities transactions? You have to build a bridge between your computer and the NSE bridge, or you build a bridge between your computer and your broker. That's called a computer to computer transaction. You do a handshake, and that comes into play for your authentication. Now, it mainly is used for mutual funds, stocks, securities. In a phone browser, in a laptop browser, or in a PC browser, there is a provision for security. There is a provision available for FIPS 3.0 compliance. So this is not a concern where you do computer to computer. But when you're moving to a computer to a mobile, which the world is going to gradually over the next 2, 3, 4 years, the same kind of FIPS implementation in your laptop browser has to come into your mobile browser, which today is not. Okay, so the moment you move into a mobile application, I need to have this enabled for a mobile browser, which will happen, may not happen. If it happens for the newer handsets. What about the older handsets? A point of concern. So I would leave it at this point. We can debate about it. Let RBI work into it. Let NPCI work onto it. Let the Reserve Bank also, let the government also then implement browser standards or browser specifications. E-commerce digital payments which you do on a PC basically is again a COFT transaction. I don't know, it is not compliant to FIDO standards, a COFT transaction. Does it give a dynamic token per transaction? I don't think so. I don't think so. It's a static transaction, a static token per transaction, unless you call your transaction ID, my token. I don't know what RBI will interpret the transaction ID as a token, but normally the TID, the transaction is issued by the server, not on the device. If you all handle online payments at the switch level. So again, these are my questions which I left open over here. POS and P2P offline, which is where the RBI has again asked for proposals, is offline CBDC, offline UPI, and stored value cards. It mentions there very clearly a secure element in the mobile device. I'll run it past you. So, which does a user ID, wallets, tokens, exactly what's mentioned over here is there in the RBI document released yesterday. I would rather do this. This is again going to be a gold standard for payment transactions. M-commerce, again, what is there for e-commerce in India exactly for M-commerce? Do I have FIDO standards? No. Do I do a dynamic token per transaction? Not yet. Unless it assumes that the TID at the server end is my dynamic token. The device does not generate a dynamic token, which is secure. There. Other OTP-based validations. Now, if you read what the RBI guideline, RBI Harbinger outline of yesterday is, there is mention over there that I need to have a secure device mapping, device ID, interoperable across multiple applications, which could be Aadhaar, could be passport, could be income tax, could be GST, could be DGFT. So this is where I would say FIPS 140-2, 140-3, and FIDO would come in as a combination of your secure element and your digital key infrastructure. So this is the I would come back to this point again over here and saying this is your core, as you know in the college we say kunji. This is the core roadmap which we need to define and work on with somebody taking ownership. So this is what I've put over here is define the base standards, technology of adoption, and then come to a common acceptance layer, implementation roadmap, and somebody takes the ownership of putting the standards together, certifications, guidelines, implementation across multiple use cases, multiple rails, and also then educating the cert and paneled auditors or the partners to validate, test, and certify with these new standards. So this is a task ahead. Piyush, you're happy to take it on. If you want to take it on, you can drive it on. I'm happy. Somebody needs to take it on, because if somebody does not take it on, it will again be a long drawn process like CFT was, 3-year implementation. It went round and round in circles. Somebody needs to take ownership of this implementation. My suggestion. Here you are. Okay. I've put something about what EAL is, what FIPS is, and what TEE is. EAL basically is enterprise assurance level. I've given a link over here. If you click this, it will take you to, you can do a Google search over here. It'll tell you what EAL is. So EAL basically goes from level 1 to level 7. Level 7 is ultimate. Nobody ever goes unless you have very strict defense applications. But EL 5 plus, 6, 6 plus is a very common implementation in banking standards. Okay. If you know about common criteria also, have you ever done certifications of chips and cards? Common criteria basically is a crypto certification. So you can read about it online. I've given you some, if you click this link with control and mouse over it, it'll take you to Google search and tell you what common criteria is. Okay. FIPS is an American standard for defense applications and defense procurement. basically American government standard, but has been adopted by the defense also in a large way. It is an NIST technology, NIST adoption also for non-military applications, but basically American driven. EAL is more European driven. The sad part is we in India have adopted FIPS for our IT Act and not EAL. Most of the chips which is from either NXP or from ST Micro are all EAL certified. Very few chips are FIPS certified. So that's the problem we are having with in India, what FIPS certified chips being very low in availability. Now, trusted execution environment, TEE as we call it, is in a mobile device. It's a secure area which gives people or gives authorized partners the access subject to a handshake and a cryptogram handshake, the read, write, and edit data into a secure area. Um, every phone does have a TEE because when I do network latching or I log on to a network, each network gives me a key for that session. So when you do a power on, you get a key, a session key from either Airtel or from Vodafone or from BSNL or from Geo. And that key remains in your handset till you do power off. Okay, but that area is only available to the phone OS and the network to use. We as banking partners can't use it. So the alternate is to put an external secure element or subject to certain credentials or authentication, allow a secure element in a handset be available to be used by third parties, like people like you and me and everybody else. So this is a bit, if you talk about security, AL, FIPS, TE, common criteria is important to learn, to just read, understand where we are, because whenever you go on to secure elements, TEE, these three terms will always come in. FIPS, common criteria, and EL will always come in. Okay, 7 EL levels I've put over here. You can read about it. I won't go through it now. It means too much of technical stuff. FIPS, again, giving you some details about it. FIPS 140-2 and 140-3. 140-3 is the highest degree of security, what we use. It is used in our IT Act, specifies FIPS. TEE is basically what it does, what it gives you, enables for you. Okay, and basically is used for mobile payments, DRM, key management, authentication. It's used quite a bit in your secure elements. I will put this over here. So this is what. So okay, so I have this over here. If you just read through it carefully, because when I do the RBI document, this is detailed in the RBI document today, of yesterday. So how many of you has used a digital signature on a USB dongle? Have you ever used one? If you haven't used one, just ask in your office, you ask your admin people, ask your CFO, ask your directors. They have a USB dongle given by either eMudra or Protean, Satyam, a lot of people who issued USB dongles. They have a PKI secure certified key issued by the CCA. Okay, and we have them as the DSC issuance partners, eMudras, Proteans, Geos, NSDLs. They all, about 13 partners, they are approved by CCA for issuance of digital signatures. Now, those signatures are a secure dynamic key. So when you power your handset on, it goes online, checks with your issuer, the key ID, the token ID in the key. If it is exactly, it does a validation, your mobile number, your device ID, your Aadhaar ID, whatever is mapped in the back, it'll do a validation. Yes, good to go. It'll give you a session ID. It'll say, yes, now power the handset on. So this is what is now asked for in the document from RBI. I'll come to it. Okay. 3DS 1.0 and 3DS. This is what is used by Visa and MasterCard. So 1.0 and 2.0 is where the difference comes in over here. I think India is all now 2.0. Am I right, Piyush? Visa and Master are 2.0.
Yes, yes.
We're all 2.0. So 1.0 was old. So if you have, somebody talking to you that app, Triple Test 2.0, Visa Master basically is all this. You can read through it, understand any questions, go online. You can write to me. I'm happy to answer you. DMA access is what is coming up with. If you read about NSE, National Stock Exchange, or BSC, or they allow brokers and authorized partners to talk to their exchange directly. You can go and read about DMA. Just Google out DMA oblique BSC, DMA oblique NSC. So they allow clients to send orders directly to the exchange trading system. They put a certified client in your laptop because your browser is FIPS 3.0 certified. Mobile phones are not 3.0 certified, FIPS certified. So it can't work on a mobile phone. But you will see in some time DMA coming on to computer to mobile. It will come in because as the world goes mobile, BSC, Government of India, NSE, SEBI will say, can I allow my customers to do direct transactions? Why?
I think Avinash, Sumit, and Omkar are from my team only, from Bluebricks team only. They are technical guys. So I asked them to join for that mobile and payments one for. So yeah.
Okay.
So I think lots of things we already have and few things we have to work on. So yeah, definitely we will work on the missing part because yeah, RBI is just making it mandatory. So lots of discussion, internal discussion are ongoing on this. Yeah, okay.
So this was released yesterday. Now let me come to the statements. Three statements. This is tokenized KYC. Okay. Now he's talking about the basic criteria. Creating a token-based user-held KYC models, credentials are digitally signed by trusted issuers. Now, a trusted issuer in India is only one, officially, Government of India, which is CCA. Okay, you can have Google Authenticator, you can have a Microsoft Authenticator, but then RBI may say yes, they're acceptable. But in terms of a true trusted authenticator is only CCA, Government of India. The second thing he says is shared securely across institutions. Now, a Google Authenticator or an Android or a Microsoft Authenticator is not shared across institutions. Only your PKI key from your CCA is shared across multiple institutions. Income tax, DGFT, passport office, that's all shared everywhere. Now, tokens should be tamper-proof, machine-readable, issued by trusted authorities, reusable across multiple onboarding processes, full control over the KYC data. Now you build a small platform where I say, this is my KYC data against issuance, and I want to share of my 3 KYC, which is my name, my Aadhaar number, and my digital ID. Of these, I only want to share my name or my mobile number or my email ID with partners. So this is what has to be built over there in the platform. But if you see the whole guideline over here, it is moving towards a digital signature. If you compare what is there in the guidelines of 25th September and what's coming up here, in my opinion, next 2-3 years is going to converge. It is going to converge. Okay. Now you come into second thing over here, he says offline CBDC. Now offline CBDC is also offline UPI. Same technology, same thing at the back.
Yes.
Now he says over here, offline mode, it says work on low cost devices, NFC or a mobile secure element, agnostic across all devices, OEMs. And he also talks about a hardware-based OEM, hardware-based chip. See here, incorporate dependencies, permissions, partnership with OEMs, chip makers if required.
So definitely I will share the presentation and I will also share the link, the recording link with all of you.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. It will be great. Yeah. Thank you so much. And I will just, connect it later also, because we are working in all these domains and all this. So I will definitely connect separately for if any further discussion will be needed. Okay.
Anytime,
Yeah,
anytime,
thank you.
anytime.
Thank you. It
Thanks a
was a
lot.
great
Thanks.
session. I think lots of technical things are there. So my technical team is here to understand that part. So we will have internal discussion further, and of course, we'll just definitely get you in touch with. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so
Piyush
much.
Piyush is a contact man.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Sure,
Okay.
Piyush. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.